Dear students, very good afternoon to all of you. So, after a long time, we will come back to our rapid, most interesting chapter, to be very honest. So, we read up to calm in storm. There was calmness, the storm abated, the dust settled, and now it is time for the trials. Again, we will come back to the trial, what happens there, and as the title suggests, triumph and forfeit. Two opposite ends. On the one side there is victory, on the other there is a loss. There is a great loss that we are about to face. Let's see how the loss is handled. 1 year and 3 months later, means during this 1 year and 3 months, almost 15 months, all these Darnay and all of the prisoners, including the king, they were there in the prison. And during that time the king was also executed, and Darnay was staying there inside jail. He was imprisoned during all these 15 months of time. So now the dreaded hearing started. The hearing is really dreaded, because this is the hearing that will show us the ultimate cruelty. Once you will move over to the next chapter, you will come to know that at least the 50 persons, all of them were sentenced death. They were forcefully put under the sharp blade of the guillotine. That's why this dreaded hearing started with Darnay. Here, triumph and forfeit, two opposite sides. In Darnay's life also we will see that his fortune gets oscillated between hope and despair, like a pendulum, hope and despair. One Darnay, who was called Charles Evemond, we know this is the real name of Darnay, that he is the nephew of the Marquis and Charles Evemond. In France was called Forfeit, so his turn was there. That's the thing which they were waiting for. Mr. Laurie, he was trying to make it happen sooner. That's why he was contacting all other acquaintances, so that Darnay's case might be brought back to the court, brought back to the judge earlier. So this day has reached. Darnay is called forth, and we will see what happens there. He was accused as an emigrant. You know, that was there in the beginning. In the chapter Onward to Paris, we came to know that it was Darnay. The moment and the day he reached France, he set foot on France, a new law was passed by the citizen patriots. And it was told that anyone who had left the country, means who had emigrated the country, if they dare to come back again, then their properties will be confiscated, and not only that, all those people will be imprisoned rigorously, and eventually they will be executed. It was mentioned that they will be executed. So execution will be there for any emigrant who dared to come back to France. So Darnay was there. He was arrested on the grounds that he was an emigrant and he dared to come back to France again, whose life was forfeit to the Republic. Under the recent French decree that banished all immigrants on pain of death. Yes, it was boldly told, and I should say it was told in a brazen-faced way, without any shame. They told that if they dare to come back, they will be executed. On the day that Darnay traveled, the French Republic had declared that all immigrants had no right to their property and would face the death penalty if they returned. So remember one thing, when this law was passed, Darnay already had reached France. After he reached there, the law was passed. So when Darnay left the France, there was no such law that dictated that no one can leave France. And if they dare to do so, once they come back, they will be imprisoned and executed. So when Darnay left the France, it was never said. This law was never in force, in circulation. So let's see what happens after that. Everyone declared that the term emigrant did not apply to him. Yes, as he had voluntarily relinquished his title. Means the alias which he was carrying, Charles Darnay, this was not done purposefully. And especially this was not done forever. He had to do it. He had to keep a different title in order to obscure his harrowing past, especially his family. They had a bad name. So in order to obscure that bad name, he had to take another title, another surname. And that does not mean he had relinquished it. He went there to England to earn his living. Remember this thing. He did not leave France for good. He just voluntarily went there, shifted in England, in order to earn some living by teaching French literature and language. Being a teacher, he taught there, and that's how he earned his reputation and earned his living. So we often do it. Suppose you get a chance, you get a scholarship, you will go to US or UK or anywhere. Does that mean that you are going to forfeit your Indian citizenship? No. You are voluntarily shifting your address for the purpose of your career. So it is your career that is actually taking you somewhere else. It is not that you are forfeiting your citizenship. And had left his country much before the decree had been passed, what I was telling you. He lived in England on his own money there rather than on the industry of the burdened French people. So industry means here hard work. So what all other aristocratic people they were doing, they were piggybacking the common French people. They were exploiting them, paying them half what they should deserve, and the rest of the amount they were enjoying, and they were tossing it. They were becoming richer and richer, and the people at large, they were becoming poorer and poorer. Though Charles Darnay belonged to an aristocratic family, he did not do it. Rather, he earned his living on his own by teaching French to the British people, staying there in England. So he was quite different from the malpractice of the aristocratic members who were there unleashing ruthless tortures against the innocent French people at large. So from this respect, from this point, we can differentiate Charles Darnay from all other aristocratic people who had their ill practice of exploiting the people. Theophile, yes. As proof, he named two witnesses. One was Theophile Gabilly, we know he was the postmaster, and Alexander Manethy, another French people. They told that yes, whatever Darnay was telling, that was correct, and he was there in France for the purpose of earning his living, and he did not exploit any French people, whoever he might be. When he mentioned he had married Dr. Manethy's daughter, the tide of fortune swung his way. Yes, of course. So there are some points that Darnay put up. First was that he did not relinquish his title for good. He did not leave his country for good. He did not exploit any French people. And now he had also married a French woman. And the most vital point of it is that he came back to France in order to save another compatriot, means he's another fellow citizen. Not for his own sake, but for the sake of his friend, in order to save his life. So these were enough. These evidences were enough to acquit Darnay of all the charges that were lodged against him. So when he said that he had returned to save the life of a French citizen, Gabilly, at whatever personal hazard to tell the truth, the crowd and jury voted for his acquittal. So all the members present there, including the audiences, the jury, the crowd, and the judge, everyone was satisfied with all the evidences that were put forth for Darnay to prove his innocence. They were satisfied with it. So, as a result of it, it was told that Darnay should be acquitted of all the charges which had been brought against him. Thank you, sir. Which had been brought against him, and this is given by Chandan sir. Every day he gives us prasad, all the teachers, and I take that papaya every day from Chandan sir. Yeah, I mean our maths teacher. Okay, so let's come back to it. The judge and the jury, they were happy, they were content with all the evidences that were put forth, and eventually they pronounced the judgment that Darnley should be acquitted of all the charges brought against him. So now the pendulum of fortune is tilted towards Darnley. But how long will it stay towards him, tilted? That we are waiting. That we are supposed to wait and see how long this pendulum of fortune is tilted towards Darnley and when it oscillates back to despair. That's all for today, students. We will read it later. Thank you very much. Tata.